Yo, Grand Rise, good people, Grand Rise, good people. Welcome to Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz. Today, afternoon show. Had to run mama to the doctor. But it is our normal Tuesday show where we are What's Wrong with the Bible? We are reading chapters Numbers 16 and 17 today. We're going to give about 5 minutes for people to get on. But as you come on, introduce yourself. But I want to thank everybody for all their shares and comments. We look forward to responding to some of the comments, even after the show. I try to respond to some of the comments. But welcome to this special after lunch edition. I got to tell you, we did the live last night, calling ourselves experimenting with evening shows. I don't like the evening show. I doubt if I would continue with evening shows. They interfere with my time. I don't like the evening show. So we're going to experiment with that for a month, but nope. We are not going to experiment with that. But welcome one, welcome all to Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz as we get ready to embark upon this journey of reading the very book that they tell us that we don't understand because we don't have the Holy Spirit, or they say we haven't read it, which is the primary reason why we started doing this, is because of all the, you haven't read it, you don't know it. But this is also how we see that it is through the reading of this that we have walked away from this book. You're going to see a few interesting things. Definitely a point of going to see an incorrect aspect of the Bible contradiction in this chapter, in the first chapter of this one. And then we'll continue. But Grand Rising Trauma, Debbie, Cindy, and Louise. Yeah, this is all right. Definitely, I agree. Most of this book is completely wrong and immoral, just propaganda of creating a history for people who, after the Bronze Age collapsed, did not have a history. So they had to make one. And they utilized older stories from other people to create their own history. And as we go through this book, we point out historical inaccuracies, contradictions. I don't know all the inaccuracies. I don't know all the contradictions. I don't know all the history, but I know a whole lot of them. And we have discovered enough just in Genesis. It was enough for us to walk away from this book. If you are going to look for some of the older ones, then if you go to my YouTube page, which is Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz, or Lorenzo Reed, LA, then you can find the older ones. Oh, I forgot to put this one in. Let me do it now while I'm still thinking about it. This one needs to be in this. They are all in playlists for each chapter. Let me add this one to the playlist on YouTube. Always a bit of truth and a good lie. Grand Rising Libra lady, Brian, Grand Rising. I don't know, Brian called me. Made a couple of videos earlier today while I was taking my madre to her doctor's appointment. Made her mad while we was there. Because she don't want to listen. But she's going to be all right. Hard-headed. Well, I tell you, the older they get, the more hard-headed they become. But she mad at me because I told her she got to record everything she eats. Get that blood pressure down. Stop taking in so much sodium. The life of a child, right? You get raised by your parents, and you raise your own children. Then it seems like you're re-raising your parents. Yep. And that's what I'm doing, teaching her. But she'll be all right. So let's get started. Because I do have to bolt out of here around in about 2 hours. So we got about 2 hours today. Maybe might be able to squeeze 3. Let's see. 2 hours. 2 hours today. At max. So we know we just finished. Last week we did Numbers chapter 14 and 15. And so now we're going to continue the story where they were a little pissed off at Moses and Aaron. We saw a man collect some firewood and get stoned right after, even though we saw the contradiction of if a person works on the Sabbath or violates the Sabbath, they're supposed to be excommunicated. But then a guy violates the Sabbath, and what do? Stone the shit out of him. One of the worst type ways of dying. So now we're going to continue into 16 and 17, where we're going to get us some good old-fashioned murder, death, kill. Some good old-fashioned MDKs. Grand Rising Sheila M. So you ready for some murder, death, kills? Are you ready for the murder, death, kills? And over some legitimate stuff. Well, the murders wasn't legitimate, but over some illegitimate stuff, I should put it that way. But let's get started, Grand Rising Mike. So, chapter 16 of the book of Numbers. Korah, son of Issachar, and son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and certain Reubenites, Dathan and Abiram, son of Elibai, and On, son of Peleth, became insolent, Grand Rising Marco, and rose up against Moses. With them were 250 Israelite men, well-known community leaders who had been appointed members of the council. They came as a group to oppose Moses and Aaron, and said to them, "You have gone too far. The whole community is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is with them. Why then do you set yourself above the Lord's assembly?" This is a legitimate gripe. They are saying that, hey, y'all are acting holier than thou. So, but God is supposed to be with all of us. So why are y'all acting so special? Aaron and his group, they get a little piece of everything, all the gold and the jewelry and the stones and the piece of all a piece of all the sacrifices, all the animals. They get a lot of stuff, just like a pastor in the church. When Moses heard this, he fell face down. Then he said to Korah and his followers, "In the morning, the Lord will show who belongs to him and who is holy, and he will have that person come near him. The man he chooses, he will cause to come near him. You, Korah, and all your followers are to do this: take censers, and tomorrow put burning coals and incense in them before the Lord. The man the Lord chooses will be the one who is holy. You Levites have gone too far." So basically, Korah is a character on something. But Korah and his guys are saying that, look, we should be part of the priesthood. The priesthood shouldn't just be all the Levites, these top Levites, but we all should be part of this priesthood, and we want to share in the spoils of being in the priesthood. Grand Rising, Thomas. Yep, just another day in Bible reading with the murders. Moses said to Korah, "Now listen, you Levites, isn't it enough for you that the God of Israel has separated you from the rest of the Israelite community and brought you near himself to do the work of the Lord's tabernacle and to stand before the community and minister to them? He has brought you and all your fellow Levites near him, but now you are trying to get the priesthood too? It is against the Lord that you and all your followers have banded together. Who is Aaron that you should grumble against him?" So Moses is basically saying, look here, I made all y'all deacons and y'all pastors, but y'all trying to be bishops and cardinals. We ain't having all that now. Stop trying to get to the upper echelon. Y'all can't be the elites. Oh, look at that. Grand Rising the Queen. He on time. Go ahead, bro. So, but they want more than just to be the deacons and the ministers, and that they are saying that they should be set at the same level as Aaron them. Aaron is not that special. And we don't even know much about Aaron other than that he's Moses' brother. There's nothing else that we really know about him. Then Moses summoned Dathan and Abiram, the son of Eliab. Keep saying his names wrong. But they said, "We will not come. Isn't it enough that you have brought us out of the land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness?" Because you remember in the previous chapter last week, the spies went, they saw the land was flowing with milk and honey, but then they saw that the people were well fortified, and then two people gave a bad report saying, no, but they're giants and we won't be able to. And they were saying, they lied then and said, well, they're giants, because the other dudes were like, no, we can take them. Caleb was like, we can take them. We got the Lord on our side. So this guy then gets mad and he says he's going to kill all of them. So instead of taking them into the land of milk and honey, they left. So now they're pissed. Like, we were right there, and now you taking us out to kill us in the wilderness. And now you also want to lord over us? Like, you had the chance to make it good, but now you want to sit lord over us even though we had that shot. Moreover, you haven't brought us into the land flowing with milk and honey, or given us an inheritance of fields and vineyards. Do you want to treat these men like slaves? No, we will not come. Which is valid. These guys have a valid point. You took us, you let us see it. It's like taking somebody window shopping. Oh, but you promise them you're gonna let them get what's in the window. But then once you see it in the window, you're like, well, nah, you can't have it. Maybe I get it for your kid. Right? So they pissed. Then Moses became very angry and said to the Lord, "Do not accept their offerings. I have not taken so much as a donkey from them, nor have I wronged any of them." Yeah, Moses, you ain't took nothing. But your brother done took, and his son done took a bunch of shit. Moses said to Korah, "You and your followers are to appear before the Lord tomorrow. You and they and Aaron, each man is to take his censer and put incense in it. 250 censers in all," which is really 250, like 3 or 4, "and present it before the Lord," because 200 men came with Korah and the other dudes, Korah and Dathan and Eliab. So 254. Minor detail, but yet this book is still supposed to be perfect. You and they and Aaron. Each man is to take his censer and put incense in it, 250 censers in all, and present it before the Lord. You and Aaron are to present your censers also. Each of them took his censer, so I was wrong. So he did add the other two, and the other two guys said he wasn't coming. And took the sentence, but put burning coals and incense in them, and stood with Moses and Aaron at the entrance of the tent of meetings. When Korah had gathered all his followers in opposition to them at the entrance of the tent of meetings, the glory of the Lord appeared to the entire assembly. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, separate yourselves from this assembly, so I can put an end to them at once. Now, Grand Rising Andrea, Grand Rising Renee, I'm sorry, but if I hear the Lord says separate yourself so I can put an end to them, no, y'all about to stay close to me. I'm going where you go. But Moses and Aaron fell face down and cried out, oh God, the Lord who gives breath to all living things, will you be angry with the entire assembly when only one man sins? Isn't that the nature of this God? Eve ate an apple or whatever the fruit was. Everybody got to die of sin. Some folks put up a golden calf, killed 3,000 people. Some people was acting up, flood the whole world. He hardened Pharaoh's heart. I was going to fuck over all the Egyptians. That's his MO. What are you talking about here? Why are they trying to make him seem different? And here again, Moses is bargaining with this God. Then the Lord said to Moses, say to the assembly, move away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Moses got up and went down to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. He warned the assembly, move back from the tents of these wicked men. Do not touch anything belonging to them, or you will be swept away because of all their sins. So they moved away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Dathan and Abiram had come out and were standing with their wives, children, and little ones at the entrance of the tent of meetings. So they stand with their wives, their children, I guess some other people's kids, since they already said children. So maybe some other people's kids, or maybe they got grown kids and the grandkids. So y'all know what's about to happen. If he not told them to separate. Y'all know some MDK is about to happen. Then Moses said, this is how you will know the Lord has sent me to do all these things, and that it was not my idea. If these men die a natural death and suffer the fate of all mankind, then the Lord has not sent me. So if they have a normal life and just die of old age or something natural, then I wasn't sent here. But if the Lord brings about something totally new, and the earth opens its mouth and swallow them, then everything that belongs to them, and they go down alive into the realm of the dead, then you will know that these men have treated the Lord with contempt. It's almost as if Moses knows what's going to happen. When before he was saying, no, As soon as he finished saying this, the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their household and all those associated with Korah, together with their possessions. Now, when we read this before, this is a lot of people. You got 252 people, 253 people complaining, but yet let's kill everybody who is in association with them, everybody in their clan. And then the earth opened up, so like an earthquake. Yep, murder, death, kill. They went down alive into the realm of the dead with everything they owned. The earth closed over them, and they perished and were gone from the community. And at their cries, all the Israelites around them fled, shouting, the earth is going to swallow us too. Now, I have never been, well, actually, no, that's a lie. I've been in 2 earthquakes, but I've never been in an earthquake where the earth opened. In movies, the earth opens and then closes back. because the movie is fictional. But I don't think I have never, at least in my understanding, I've never seen nor heard of an earthquake opening and then closing back shut. This sounds like some fantastic stuff going on right here. Everybody screaming, "Oh my God, oh no, oh no, oh no. The earth swallowed them, it's gonna swallow us too." Well, didn't they listen and hear him say that, hey, separate from everybody else, separate from these dudes because they're wicked. Don't touch nothing that they have. They're wicked. So why would you think it's gonna affect you too if that's the case? Oh, a sinkhole. Good, Marquise, a sinkhole. But do sinkholes open and then close back up? I thought a sinkhole just sinks and it's still left open. I don't know if a sinkhole does that. You got my curiosity. Does sinkholes open and close? No. And what I can tell, they don't open and close. Grand Rising, Michael. So, earthquake, sinkhole, they got swallowed up and the hole closed up. So they running. Oh, the earth is gonna swallow us. Either way, it's deadly. Either way, it is deadly. You're right. Right? They just leave a crater in the earth. And fire came from the Lord and consumed the 250 men who were offering the incense. Now, in some, well, let me get there first. Let me get there. Before I say what some translations say. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, to remove the censers from the charred remains and scatter the coals some distance away, for the censers are holy. The censers of the men who sinned at the cost of their lives hammered the censers into sheets to overlay the altar, for they were presented before the Lord and have become holy. Let them be a sign to the Israelites." You know, they got a lot of signs. There's a lot of signs. They got tassels and shit. They got a whole bunch of rainbows, signs of the Lord. So Eleazar, the priest, collected the bronze censers, brought those who had been burned to death, and had them hammered out to overlay the altar, as the Lord directed him through Moses. This was to remind the Israelite that no one except the descendants of Aaron should come to burn incense before the Lord, or he would become like Korah and his followers. So in some translations, and maybe I'm gonna get there, but I haven't seen it yet. Some translations say that Korah was swallowed up in the sinkhole, whereas others say that Korah was burned. Now, according to this, it killed all the people, the leaders, their wives, their children. But later on in Numbers, and I'll remind us when we get there. Later on in Numbers, it says that some of Korah's descendants actually survived this. But according to the beginning part, all of them died. Signs are everywhere. Grand Rising, Dwayne. The next day, the whole Israelite community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. "You have killed the Lord's people," they said. They know that these people came up and they complained against Moses and Aaron. Then they got swallowed up by a sinkhole and then burned by some fire that came from the Lord. You know, the Lord's ray gun. And you still complain. You know, most of us here walked away from this religion But if I was living at this time frame and I see the this guy death ray incinerate all these people and earthquake open and close, I don't think I'm complaining no more. But this guy who wants us to believe in him and through murder, death, kills is his process of scaring the shit out of us into believing in him and the belief that he is a loving God. Where that stuff at today? I'm just curious. Where's that today? Where are the priests of Aaron? Where's Aaron's sons? What's the line of Aaron? Where's the descendants? Why aren't they leading the world in this religion? You know, there's sticky notes all over the earth. But I'm just, if this God and these things are supposed to be perpetual for all times, so where is it? And Jesus didn't come in the line of Aaron, he came in the line of Melchizedek, according to this book. So where is it? I need to see this. If you want us to cower in fear of you, but yet this is supposed to be a God of love. So how are you a God of love, but your way of getting things across is to MDK people? And he's gonna get to some more. And we ain't done with the MDKs yet. We got some more. So let's get to the other MDKs as well. But when the assembly gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron and turned towards the tent of meeting, suddenly the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. Then Aaron and Moses went to the front of the tent of meetings. The Lord said to Moses, "Get away from this assembly, so I can put an end to them once and for all." Same thing he said earlier. And they fell face down. He said, "Get away," but they fell face down. Face down. That's up. This is the way we. Okay. Then Moses said to Aaron, "Take your censer and put incense in it, along with the burning coals from the altar, and hurry to the assembly to make atonement for them. Wrath has come out from the Lord. The plague has started." So Aaron did as Moses said and ran into the midst of the assembly. The plague had already started amongst the people, but Aaron offered the incense and made atonement for them. He stood between the living and the dead, and the plague stopped. But 14,700 people died from the plague, in addition to those who had died because of Korah. Then Aaron returned to Moses at the entrance of the tent of meetings, for the plague had stopped. So right off the bat, can you imagine you standing there? The glory of the Lord shows up, which is smoke and fire, and then the voice comes out, Wizard of Oz style. And then it's like, move back, Moses in there. I'm finna lay the smack down on they candy asses. And while the Lord is laying the smack down on them, Aaron is out there running with his censer with some incense, some coals and stuff burning to stop this God's plague, as people are literally just dropping dead at that in an instance. Not just 5-6 people drop dead, 14,700 people. What if, and now Moses did this on his own accord. What if Moses was standing by waiting for the Lord to give him some instructions? Then he would have killed all the little Levite people, all of them. Every variation of the Levite tribe, every clan would have just been like, dying of whatever this plague was. What this really sounds like is some disease hit, and they run around, thinking that the colds and stuff is going to stop it, but it finally ended of its own natural occurrences. But of course, people just dying that immediately. Nah, bro, that's like one of them movie kind of plague things, like what was The Day the Earth Stood Still, when the little stuff was going around just knocking out shit. Right, Marco said, who counted? And such a perfect number. 250 of the people who stood with Korah. Exactly 250. Nice, round, tight number. 14,700. Nice, round number. Why is this so funny today? Because it's a lie. That's why it's funny. What you say? Right. Why would any love come from an MDK? Exactly. There would no love would come from an MDK. I mean, do you think that if they're like, let's look at American history. Did the South just start falling in love with the North? Did the North just fall back in love with the South? No, there were hella tensions between those two groups with all them MDKs. Same thing with every other war or every other conflict or issue. That's fear. When one side just gives up, it's out of fear of being decimated. That's what I damn sure don't get, the immoral acts against humanity, and people give it a special pleading and excuses, trying to pass it off as the Lord's reprimanding or the Lord's chastisement. That's some hella chastisement. Imagine if you chastise your children that way or your community that way. Your ass is going to jail. Right, and there's still tension. There's a ceasefire now in Israel. You think that's going to mean the tension is gone? No. The tension between them will still be here. Grand Rising Brett W. So that's how 16 ends, with 14,700 deaths by plague, another 251 deaths by the earth sucking up some people, as well as this God's death ray being turned on them. But wait, chapter 17, there's more. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and get 12 staffs. So now I got to do some miracles. 12 staffs from them. One from the leader of each of their ancestral tribes. Write the names of each man on his staff. And on the staff of Levi, write Aaron's name. Y'all know the setup is right here. So who was keeping exactly? Who counted the 14,700? On the staff of the Levites, write Aaron's name. For there must be one staff for the head of each ancestral tribe. Place them in a tent of meetings in front of the ark of the covenant law, where I meet you. The staff belonging to the man I choose will sprout, and I will rid myself of this constant grumbling against you by the Israelites. Sure. These people been grumbling the whole damn time. First, they grumbled in slavery. Then they get out of the slavery, but then they grumble for being in the wilderness. Then so they're free, but then they grumble about eating insect shit. Then they get stuffed with a whole bunch of birds, so they were throwing up, and then they still grumble. Then before that they grumbled about some water, and then they hit a stone and the water poured out. They grumbled again. Then he showed them the promised land. They grumbled about that. Then he takes them away from the promised land. They grumble. These people gonna complain. You think you're swallowing the earth and plague gonna stop these people from complaining? These are humans. Humans will find a reason to complain. If there is brown to be found, a human will find it. It'll be a whole sky full of blue. I'm gonna find the one speckle of something to complain about. So this all-knowing God, he already knows they're going to complain later on. So why is he even saying this? I will rid myself of this constant grumbling against you and by the Israelites. He's supposed to be all-knowing. So we already know the bullshit card is up. So Moses spoke to the Israelites and their leaders and gave them 12 staffs, one for the leader of each of the ancestral tribes. And Aaron's staff was among them. Now, Aaron's staff is already proven to show some magic, right? Because it was Aaron's staff that actually was supposed to be thrown down and turned into a snake. It was Aaron's staff that was placed into the river, the Nile River, and turned all the waters into blood. It was Aaron's staff that supposedly caused the field of reeds or the Red Sea to split. So this is cheat code. This is cheat code. all day long cheat code. Where am I? Place staffs in before they'll come along. There it goes. The next day, Moses returned to the tent and saw Aaron's staff, which represented the tribe of Levi, had not only sprouted, but had budded, blossomed, and produced almonds. So this inanimate object, Aaron's. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, y'all got one thing y'all may not know about me, but my mind can be dirty at what we call dirty at times. So God played with he played with all the Israelite staff, and then Aaron's staff sprouted and had multiple nuts. Okay, sorry. My apologies. Whoo! Blossomed and produced almonds. Then Moses brought out all the staffs from the Lord's presence to all the Israelites. They looked at them, and each of the leaders took his own staff. The Lord said to Moses, "Put back Aaron's staff in front of the ark of the covenant law to be kept as a sign to the rebellious. This will put an end to the grumbling against me, so that they will not die." Moses did just as the Lord commanded him. The Israelites said to Moses, "We will die." What the fuck? I thought that this was supposed to be a sign that they will not grumble anymore. But the Israelites said to Moses, "We will die. We are lost. We are all lost. Anyone who comes near the tabernacle of the Lord will die. Are we all going to die?" Didn't he just say a few verses ago? In verse 5, the staff belonging to the man I choose will sprout, and I will rid myself of this constantly grumbling against you by the Israelites. And as soon as Aaron's staff pops a few nuts, and they place it as a clear sign of who he's down with, the first thing they do is they grumble some more. This guy is supposed to be all-knowing. Why does all his plans not work? This dude has the worst project manager in creation. And then they left us on a cliffhanger because that's how it ends. That's how chapter 17 ends. And I know it's a short, but we're going to keep, I like doing 2 chapters on each one. But that's how it ends. With them grumbling that this guy couldn't see that they were going to grumble again. If you're not mistaken, I believe that there's a scripture that says not even God can contend with the will of man. According to Christians, humans are the most willful people creation on earth. I'm not sure what's good for that, but I know I've heard it preached before in church. Oh. Let's find out. God's will cannot contend with man. First thing comes up in Genesis 6:3, where it says God will not strive with man forever. Meaning he won't put up with man. Everything that comes up right now is just about Genesis 6:3. I have to do a deeper search into that one. My travel agent says she sent a couple to the rainforest. They came back and complained that it rained. In the rain. They complained that it rained in the rainforest. That's about right. That is about right, Renee. Appreciate that, singing queen. We're willful creation because we created this God. Exactly, sackcloth. Let's be real, people. If you were believing in some deity and then this dude separates some people and say, all right, the ground gonna open up and swallow all of y'all, and then boom, it happened right then. And then you grumble against this God and boom, I mean, and well, it swallowed him up, and then a laser death ray comes and MDK 250 some people. Then we do a magic trick with some sticks. And one stick that is just a stick. It's not, it doesn't have any roots. It wasn't planted in the ground. It was just a stick and an object. All of a sudden, it sprouts buds and gets a couple of nuts. I think I'm going to say, you know what? I think I might want to just shut up and follow this guy. I might want to do all the bullshit that he's telling me to do. Let me not wear the mixed linen. Let me not do any work on the Sabbath. Let me make sure I get my offerings right. Make sure I do my offerings. Just get with the program at that point, because evidently there's some hocus pocus going around that's beyond my knowledge. So let me just stop messing around because I can't figure this dude out. But no, they just keep on doing it. And then for him to say that, oh, this is going to put an end to it. But as soon as you do some magic, they cry some more. What happened to your all-knowing? What happened to the all-knowing? And we did. We created an evil God. Have you heard the theory that the God of the Old Testament, Yahweh, Jehovah, is actually a demonic dragon? Yeah. I mean, that was, if you're talking about how that falls in line with the whole demiurge aspect, that he's an evil God of overly masculine, no feminine, no wisdom deity that comes from the Gnostic. Yeah. I have heard that. Which this guy does fit into that category. He's an evil dude, completely evil. So what do we see when we just reading these two chapters? In itself is enough to show that this is not the God, the creator. If you believe that there's a created a being that creates everything, this one ain't it. He can't get his plan to go through. He thinks he knows what the people are going to do when he does something, but they don't do it. Even after a whole bunch of magic tricks, even after killing a whole bunch of people. They say he's a God of love, but yet he MDKs all these people, and most of them had nothing to do with this whole situation. At most, you had 253 people who were being rebellious, but he goes and kills the 253 plus their wives, plus their children, and anybody else associated with them. And then even after that, he sends a plague and kills 14,700 people. I don't know if there's any Christians listening to this, but if there are, either now or later, explain to me how this is a loving God. And how do you expect? You want people to repent and then come to love you. But if you kill them, how can they repent? And you're killing people who didn't have shit to do with it. I died because I'm Korah's cousin. I died because I'm Korah's neighbor. I'm an old man who was just sitting up there doing my job. I'm carrying the pole, you know, I'm carrying the incense and the altar. I'm doing my job. I ain't complaining about it. I'm not trying to be a bishop or a cardinal. I'm doing my thing, what I'm supposed to do. But because I'm associated, I'm part of the lineage of this particular clan of Levites, I get MDK, swallowed up, or burnt, laser burnt, or die of a plague instantly. You cannot convince me that is love. Like the way he described it, he is described in the Old Testament is the same description of a dragon, pretty much. all this fire and smoke. Yeah, this deity is created in the image of the people who wrote about him at that time frame. That's he created. That's his thing. However, they thought about deities during the 700s to 500s is what they wrote about. All right, so Keith says, I think love isn't defined like we think it is. So define love for us. And yeah, define love. What is love then? That's what how is this a loving, merciful God? Yeah, where's the mercy? Where is the look, people? I'm showing you what I got for you. Where's the love? You can't take people out of slavery and then still have them in a horrible situation and think that they're supposed to love you, right? They always showing us, the ancestors of those who families were here during slavery, they always showing us as if our ancestors post-slavery love this country. They'll show you the few people who fought in wars, the few people who became law-abiding service people. They'll show the few, but the majority hated this country. If they had a way out, they would have taken it, as many did, and left this damn country. Oh, you're still studying it, but you don't think love is what we define it to be? No disrespect, Keith, but it sounds like, if you're a Christian, it sounds like you're trying to figure out a description of love that this God can then fit into so that you can say this is a loving God. How else can you define love? When does love kill? When does love kill? Give me some instances of when love kills. When does this? The Bible says that love drives out all fear. That love is kind. Love is patient. Now, this is supposed to be the inspired word of this God. So according to Origen of Alexander, when he created the doctrine that this is the inspired word of this God, his description, this God's description of love says it's peaceful, it's kind, it's patient, all these different attributes. So how else are you to define it if you're going by this book other than by the definition the book gives? And if that is the definition, does this God subscribe to that definition? It's really that simple. It doesn't require a ton of study unless you're trying to force, a square peg into a round hole. That's the only way. That's the only reason you would need to study it more in depth, is that you realize it doesn't fit. And as my man said, if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. So you have to recognize this is not a God of love. This is a God of terrorism. This is a God of fear, right? This is a God of, I need you to be slaves to me. Those people were right when they said in chapter 16, what do you want us to become your slaves? They were saying it to Moses and Aaron, but they're saying it in the mindset of, to this God, you want us to become your slave. And y'all they spoke the mouthpieces of this God. I've heard the ridiculous justification that God has to keep sin out of the camp. So God had to murder those associated with the ones who committed the sin. Make that make sense? It does not make sense. If all men sin all the time, then how can you keep sin out by killing people? At the end of the Noah story, this God said that from birth, every thought of man is evil. If every thought of man is evil, then he will never be able to eradicate sin without eradicating all of man. That's it. And if sin existed before man, because based on this book, and it references the book of Enoch, sin first appeared when there was a revolt in heaven. So therefore, sin was already a thing in the cosmos before earth was created. So therefore, even in the next level, there is still sin. And the reason why there's sin, because you cannot have good without evil. They both exist on the same pole. They cannot be separated. You can only vibrate at one end or the other, and there are a million degrees in between. Humans like to believe that there is a place where there is no sin, because humans want to believe that there is something better than Earth, that there is a better place, that there is some environment that they can be in where they don't have to worry or fear anything else for the rest of their lives. And that just doesn't exist. You could be in the best place, but there's still going to be those who are not at that same level as everybody else. Even if there is a heaven, if there was this heaven, there's evidently, because of the fallen angels, as they call them, they revolted against God. A third of the angels revolted against God. So evidently, even in that realm, you can revolt. So there are still going to be some issues. I know God is love, and if we are made in his image, it comes down to what is God and what is God, an image, presence, or even a thing that we don't see. Okay. So who do you say is God, though, Keith? This is what Keith Solek wrote on Facebook. Who do you say is God? Are you saying the God of the Bible is God? Is the God of the Quran God? Is the God of the Indus Brahma? Is he God? Is Odomare God? Quetzalcoatl God? Who's God? Because now one of them shows pure love, not Nan. I want to hear your answer, hopefully, before I give mine, if you don't mind. Because that's the easy way out. God is love. You have a dude who's beating the shit out of his wife. He claims that he loves her. You have a woman that's controlling or beating the shit out of her husband. She says she still loves him. You have parents who beat the shit out and murder their kids, and they say they still love them. What's love? Who is this God of love? That would be the question. But since you haven't wrote anything yet, and I don't like having too much dead space. If you look at love and hate as being an emotion on a scale, I guess me wearing black and that pen being black is not good. This is the scale of the emotion that has love and hate. So if supreme ultimate love is here and supreme ultimate hate is here, they're still existing on the same pole. God would then have to be over here. But even being over here, there is still some hate within the pole, because there are millions of degrees along the line. You could be here, you could be here, you could be here, you could be here. You could be anywhere in here, right? Even at the outer edges, and this could be continuous for all eternity, of a pole, there is still a little bit of hate. No matter how far you go, you can never escape hate, because hate is still going to be part of it, because we can all define you cannot define where does love begin and where does hate end. Where does love end and where does hate begin? It's all along the pole. It's just that when you're over here, there's so little hate that you can see that you may confuse yourself to think that there is no hate. Or you're all the way over here, there's so much hate that you don't think that there is love. To give a human example of that, you have people who are mass murderers, serial killers, who hate, and racist and everything else, but yet they love their children, they love their mom, they love their dad. There's a tiny slither of love in there, but you can't see it because of all the hate they've demonstrated. In the same way over here with love, they love everybody, most peaceful person in the world, want to help everybody, all into, your Mother Teresa, Gandhi after he got his shit together, showing all this love, but there's still a little bit of hate in that basket. So it's all about the pole. Okay. Eddie wrote us 2 books. Maybe God is a collective consciousness of all that exists in all planes of reality, crossing through dimensions, using only the light of the filament of the cosmos, like neurons that fire with electrical pulses, searching and reaching for a connection. Even inanimate objects have their own electrical signature, which creates light through the nucleus of an atom, of which it is created. God is above and below, within and without. I can understand what you're saying in that one. I believe that God is both outside of the universe and inside of the universe, with the domains over the infinite massive, with dominion over the infinite massive to the infinite massless, organizing and orchestrating chemical reactions, creating reality in this realm through matter and energy, connected to everything through quantum entanglement. The divine spark is in all of us. We are all from light, like the center of the nucleus, projecting photons from the heart of God. That is a very scientific way of expressing the all and the mental universe. So I would agree with you in that if there is this God, this all, this intelligent, infinite mind, it would exist in that exact thing. But it would not be all good nor all evil. It actually would be more neutral. Here's the laws of the universe. This is how everything is set up. This is how things happen. There is no love and hate. There just is. Love and hate really is defined by the individual person and their experience and perspectives. Why is love always conditional? It seems you always have to do something to receive this love from God, but you always hear it's unconditional. Well, you hear it's unconditional because it sounds good. All right. It sounds good, and it would be befitting of an unconditional of a God of love. But let's be real. Love is an emotion. Point blank, period. It's not a natural reaction. It is not a chemical reaction. It is not elemental. It is something that we decide. You decide to love and you decide not to love. Love is always a decision. People want to emotionalize it all day, but it's a decision that you make. That decision is made based on conditions. No one loves without conditions. It's like people love dogs. And I was watching this video where they have these leopard attacks in India where they attack all these dogs. And in the comments, people are like, oh, the poor dog, why can't they do anything? Oh, I shoot that leopard. But to somebody else, they love the leopard. but they don't love dogs. It's a point of conditioning. You grew up in America or some of these Western cultures, dogs are pets, man's best friend, and all that kind of thing. It's the mindset that you've been given as far as what dogs are to you. That's your perspective. To somebody else who eat dogs, the leopard is just hunting. They're just hunting. Like it would hunt anything else. Use these same type videos. Oh, the poor little Bambi, the poor deer, the gazelle. Do you cry and spill your eyes for the poor blade of grass that they eat and kill? No, because you don't have love for the grass. Unless you're one of those people who do love the grass. So all love is conditional, and perspective. There is no such thing as unconditional love. None whatsoever. At no level can somebody claim to have unconditional love for anything because it's something that doesn't exist. Because you were conditioned into it. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I would like to know your thoughts on this one. An amazing writing. This is actually where, if you study the Hermetic laws, the Kabbalion, this is where the Kabbalion and the Hermetic laws actually come from. I think it brings, if you can understand it, to which it takes, to me, I probably only have read it probably about 60 times. They say you should read it 100 times, but I've probably only read it maybe somewhere around the 50 to 60 range. It has its own level of spookisms, where you stand in a circle and speak out to the 9 lords, and there's a spell that you speak out, and wisdom and knowledge and supposed to come to you when you speak this out. I had wisdom and knowledge coming to me before I spoke those words out, but I participated, But I think it's a great understanding of just if you take out the spookism and just look at it for what it talks about natural law. And also it's a great story of how Thoth, it coincides rather with the Anunnaki story and the Atlantean story of the deluge after the Younger Dryas around 10,000, 9,000 BCE. And then, Thoth flew over to the land of Kim and restarted the civilizations. Archaeological wise, it fits better than the Bible. So I think it's a great book. It's a great book for study. Not a book, but you know what I mean. It's a great tablets for study. They say that there are 2 or 3 tablets that they will not release that are hidden. I would like to read those tablets. But I find most of it has when it talks about just the natural universe and how universal energies work, I find them to be correct. I base my answer on what I've looked into in the Bible, but still trying to find out what God is before I can verify. Just me personally, you're not going to find God in the Bible. If you read it without forcing yourself to find God in the Bible, then you will recognize that this cannot be God, not this Bible God. There are too many contradictions. There are too many inaccuracies. There are too many differences in translations. And this guy just doesn't fit the description of what love is. So there might be elements of this God in the Bible, but it is surrounded with a whole lot of lies, a whole lot of poison. Simple question, Keith. Can you call God a God of love if he condones slavery? If he condones forcing a girl who has been assaulted by a man to marry her rapist? Can you find God in would that ever qualify to be God? Yep, Mike is a conglomerate of BS. I think parents have unconditional love for their kids and grandkids. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. So if your kid or grandkid came up and sliced you across the face with a knife, still love them? Your kid or grandkid brings drugs into your house, the police bust in and lock you up in jail, and you go away for 5 years, thereby ruining your life for a while. Whereas you now got to serve 5 years in prison because you were there, association, and you go to jail for 5 years. You lose your job, you lose your house, you lose everything, and you are now in jail because of that child. You still love that child unconditionally? I do that. Now, if you're meaning you may still have emotions for them, yeah, we put it in that kind of context. But how much love is there really? I mean, really, how much love is there? Sure, if you don't love, unconditional love means you're trusting them, you're supportive of them, you're giving to them. So then you get out of jail, you reestablish your life, and that joker come knocking at your door. I know we have sayings and terms like, I can love you from afar. I love you with a 10-foot pole, those kinds of things. But is that unconditional love? No, you're loving them with conditions of stay away from my damn house. Stay out of my life. Keep your roguish ass away from me. If your son comes in and you catch your son having sex with your wife, whether it's his mother or a stepmother, you will put conditions on the love that you have for them. Maybe at birth, you might have unconditional love, but that shit changes. That changes. Supposedly he created us like him. Then Christians believe we're going to be punished for not being like him. Actually, it's contradictory, Mike, if you think about that. If he created us like him, now look at the character of him. He actually wants us to not act like him in order to be with him forever. If you think about it, we have to be better than this God in order to be in eternity with this God. And we are better than this God. Even up to this day, we're better. To this day, we are better than this God. Most people on the planet think slavery is wrong. Most people think that subjugating women is wrong. If God loves what he does, I guess so. Thank you, Eddie. No, actually, Papa Soul, that's not a stretch because I know of every situation that I just named. I know of the situations where jokers brought drugs into the house and then that person had to be kicked to the curb from the family, right? I know of jokers who came in and had sex with their mothers, had sex with their stepmothers. No. Mm-mm. No. I know fathers who have told their sons, you get the hell on, or their daughters get the hell on because they caused the family to lose everything that was built for generations. No, it's not a stretch. And that shit happens. If the people are to worship an almighty God, the Bible does him a disservice, does him the worst service. But doctrine and fear is a powerful tool. I agree that all it takes is for people to hate and mistrust someone, but I think unconditional love is possible. Only with the newborns, man, and maybe the toddlers. I'll submit to that. newborns and toddlers, sure. But to an adult or a teenager, hell no. And then, like, when I'm working with couples, one of the things that I tell them is that love must be earned on a daily basis. Every day you got to earn this. Thank you, LaQueen. Yes, y'all don't forget to share the videos. Share all the videos. And 3 or 4 videos I posted earlier today. Share those videos. But love has to be earned every day. Every day. You got to earn that love. Love is not given out freely. You earn it. I'm sure you've seen the man or a woman that get married and they was all, oh, I love you. I'm so in love with you. I'm doing everything for you. I'm trying to make sure every day. And then 5, 10 years later, oh, I got you now, so I ain't got to date you no more. I got you now, so I ain't got to look good for you no more. I got you now, so all that other shit I did to get you, I ain't got to do anymore. What I'm saying is this doesn't happen to the mass majority. What? Oh, the unconditional love? Yeah, but maybe you've met some people, but I've never met anybody who just got pure unconditional love. I mean, my grandmother was probably the most loving person I've ever met in my life, but she had her limitations. Yeah. And to my knowledge, she never hurt a soul. But she has her limitations. She had her limitations. That's for sure. I sure hell ain't believing somebody like Mother Teresa or any of them had unconditional love. We know Dr. King didn't. I appreciate everything he did, him standing up like a man, and I don't agree with all of his tactics and his thought processes, but he might have showed the Black community love, and to a certain degree, he showed his wife love, but he showed some other women some love too. Now, if he's showing other women some love, how much is he loving his wife? See what I'm saying? And nobody's perfect in that. Like, I'm a person who will give most people the benefit of the doubt. You wrong me, or you do something and I feel like I've been wrong, I'm going to give you the benefit. Initially, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that it was some type of mistake. Usually that benefit of the doubt messed me up a little bit. You know, I wound up being wrong. And I know that I shouldn't give people the benefit of the doubt if they haven't earned it. It's a flaw. It literally is a flaw, because some of the hardships of my life have come because I've given people the benefit of the doubt. Whether it's friends, family, associates, co-workers, whatever. But I got a limit. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Damn sure ain't gonna be a third time though. Your ass got to go. I don't love you no more. Might care about your well-being. That's about the extent of it. Go. You die. Oh damn, that's sad. You hit to some hard time. Oh man, that's too bad. I feel bad for them. Even people who have wronged me, I've known that they've come into some hard times. I'm like, I still feel like, but they don't deserve my help no more. You lost it. But the Buddhist monks, all of them, they still get angry. They still struggle with emotions. Hell, I'm a Star Trek fan. Even the Vulcans struggle with emotions sometimes. Every 7 years, go through the Pumfar. Struggle with their emotion. Gotta get a little pum pum to get the emotions right. I would love to be wrong, though, Papa. So I would love to be wrong, and I would love to be wrong to the extent where I get to experience it personally. I would love to be wrong, but I know that if I treat Angelina a certain way, that the love may not be gone, but so much shit get piled on top of it, you can't even see that love no more. Can't even see it. And I've expressed before, and I do so when I work with couples. If you've ever loved somebody, you never lose the love for them. It's just so much shit get piled on top of it that you can't dig deep enough to find it. And it may look like hate, and that's merely because, let's go this way. You was over here, but then they burned you. And so it looks like you're over here now. You can't see over here. All you can see is this. When you see the actions the person does, how they treat the person, you'll look at them like they don't love them. You know, look at what they've done. Look at how they treat them. Mm-mm. One of my uncles, to me, he did so much shit. Although I love him, he was over here burning. He over here. You know, you're not over here. Mm-mm. Nope. I can honestly say my brother, when we were children, his ass was over here. He was mean as shit to me as a kid. I still loved him because he was my brother. But it's been over these years of us being adults, being brothers as adults, that I don't, emotionally, I've gotten beyond all the crazy shit he was doing when we was growing up. And it wasn't nothing major, like he didn't endanger my life or, violate me or nothing like that. He just mean as hell. We fought all the time. I'm still waiting on that one fight where I can whoop his ass. He's the only person in my life who I've never won a fight. But, I'd be happy to see it in a person. Even my daughters, my son, if I don't treat them a certain way, the love they have for their father will be greatly diminished or covered up by a whole bunch of shit if I treated them foul. It's not there. Well, it's there. You just ain't gonna get to it. And it certainly will not be demonstrated. This Bible God has done so much shit that there is no love to be seen because there's so much shit that this guy does that's piled on top. All the MDKs, all his cultural rules that we know are inhumane. No. Grand Rising Marcus. I suppose original megalithic religions has borrowed God from Canaan. In Canaan in antiquity, Yahweh is one of the sons of El. He also had a wife named Asherah, and comes from a pantheon of gods. Also, some of the biblical stories, like the flood of Noah, even Genesis, Adam and Eve, do not even originate from the Hebrew works, but from the earlier Mesopotamian accounts. The rabbi used to preach or teach that creation was less than 6,000 years ago, proved that Jewish religion was wrong and faulty, at least, yes. But everything you said is correct. Yahweh is El's son, who is married to Asherah, and his brother is Baal. But all their stories are borrowed. Although those earlier stories are all borrowed. And then a lot of their stories in the middle are borrowed as well. The only story that would not have been borrowed are the stories that were created after the Babylonian captivity. And then, of course, Jesus is a borrowed story. But that's not the Jewish story. There are people in sports who get told negative stuff to get better. I've also seen good things spoken or listened to that brought people out of a coma. So I think the same can be said about positive and negative if you look at it like a battery. I would agree with you, right? Except for the inherent difference of murdering people, of people being into slavery, of people committing genocide. There is no, and trust me, I get using negative stuff to push people to a positive. But if you just kill 14,700 plus people, so you just really killed like 15,000 people when you add in the other people, you just killed 15,000 people. It's a negative that according to this guy was supposed to be a sign that caused them to not grumble against this God and Moses and Aaron, but yet the people kept doing it. But you killed people to get there. There is never a situation where killing people to get to a positive is the right thing to do. And especially when the overwhelming majority of the people were innocent of any of the things that were done. What did those 250 men, and understand when it says 250, and even the 15,000, they're literally just counting men. They don't count women and children in these numbers. So the number is actually far greater. So when you killed all these people, what about those people? What about if you believe in souls and spirits, what about their soul? What about their opportunity? You just murdered them. That doesn't create positive reinforcement. That creates fear. So you've really taken a negative to create another negative. Because instead of me loving you, I am now in fear of you. And there's a difference, there's a difference when, what team was that? Who was we playing? There's a difference when our coach came out on the last series against Sprayberry High School, and this was the first team that was giving our defense a run for his money. And he came out there and he was like, y'all letting them run all over y'all. Y'all getting smashed, Chuck. You ain't broke through the line not one time. He whooping your ass. Came to me telling some, y'all, you letting Eli just get around the end on you. You supposed to be fast. What happened to all that speed that you was talking about? That speed that you got in track? Yeah, he was on our ass, but that's different. It was positive reinforcement within the negative, calling out our bullshit. Just deity just killing people. He ain't calling people out on their bullshit. He killing. Hey, why should you be the only priest? Should not we all be able to be priests if we're of the Levites and we are supposed to be special sectioned off to do God's work? Why should you just be? It's a legitimate question. That could have just had an answer and say, hey, look here. Yes, all of y'all are priests. All of y'all are, doing the work of God. But, like Moses tried to say it, but you still got to have certain leadership. And I believe in bloodlines, and you don't have the bloodlines. Let me explain this to you. Nope. Death ray, earthquake, kill everybody. Coach Pop is not going to come out there to Wimbiana and stab his ass to make sure that the other guys start playing better. Y'all saw me stab Wimby, and he's the future of this franchise. I stabbed his ass. Now Vasali, what you gonna do? Or Vassell, what you gonna do? You better get out there and drop 40 on them because you see me stabbing Wimby. Come on, man. It's not the same comparison. I guess we lose unconditional love as we get older. Yeah. Well, that's why I say we give it to infants and toddlers But an infant or a toddler doesn't have unconditional love. Don't feed a toddler or infant. They will not love you. Beat the shit out of one. They will not love you. They will fear you. So even the infant and the toddler itself doesn't have unconditional love. That love that is given is based on you spending time with it, based on you comforting it, based on you feeding it. That's how an infant or toddler develops love for you. All right. If you're not around, so like Angelina has a niece, right? And when I first met her, she wasn't going to talk to me. She didn't come near me. She was like stranger danger to the nth degree. And she's like that with everybody. Stranger danger. She don't know you, stranger danger. It's a good quality. I'm glad she has it. But it has taken this year of going back and forth and visiting with them for her to get comfortable. It has taken me like giving her, like she wanted a cookie, here you go. Me giving her the cookie. The insistent upon, a hug or whatever. Now she will hug me, but she's still learning. She's still developing that. She's still like, okay, I'm going to hug you. I'm going to say hey to you. I'll let you, I'll play with you every now and then because she'll play with me now. But it takes time. And this child isn't just unconditional love. Now you got to be there. You got to create the bond. The Bible in Isaiah 45:6-7 said that he makes peace and creates evil. But the pastor will tell you that God is good all the time. Exactly. And what they'll try to do, they'll use the translation that says calamity, that replaces the word evil with calamity, and say that, well, that's not evil. What the hell is calamity? If not evil. Is not murder. If somebody came in this house right now and tried to murder me, that murderous mentality is created by this deity. That's evil. If I ain't do nothing to you, I'm just sitting here minding my business. But that energy of murder, that energy of all energies of calamity is evil. You have lesser degrees. There's a difference between somebody trying to come in here and kill me and somebody driving stupid and wreck and run into me. That can be considered a calamity. It's a bad situation, but it's on the very low end. They weren't paying attention to how they were driving and they created that situation. Not being careful. Still can be in the calamity spectrum, but there again, you come murder me, we over here. You not paying attention and you not murder me is over here. You not paying attention and you wreck my car, that's more over here. Or more over here in the middle. Which is why this God is not like another thing of love supposed to be justice. This deity doesn't have justice. What did we see in the last week? First he says the justice is if a person works on the Sabbath or violates the Sabbath, they have to be set apart from the community. Soon as somebody does it by collecting wood for his family, they murder him. MDK, straight up, with some stones. Dude goes from 0 to 100. Oh, y'all complaining, and even though you got a legitimate complaint, I'm just gonna kill 15,000 people. But that's the mentality of the people back in that time frame. It was no big deal for a king to order the deaths of a whole group of people. So this is their mentality that they were used to. So this is how they wrote their God. And once you realize that, it helps you to walk away from this God. And if your need is to seek a divine, then at least you know what not to seek. Meaning, If a God says that you can make slaves of those foreigners amongst you and the nations around you and sell them and keep them as property for life and pass them along to your kids, and you deem that as evil or a negative, and you've walked away from that God, then what you're looking for is a God or an image of God or a thought or consciousness of God that says that one person owning another person is completely wrong. Treating women as subservient is completely wrong. Women stay silent in the churches, for I suffer you not to usurp the authority of a man. Because who was made first, the man or the woman? Who transgressed first against God, the man or the woman? Thereby the woman is the lesser vessel, weaker vessel. A truly good deity would not subjugate women that way. So when you realize that that's what this God says, and you want to go away from that and seek a supreme deity that is good, then you know you got to go to that side of the spectrum. Where is the deity that says that men and women are equal, that one is no better than the other, nor is one more evil than the other? Where is the God that says that all inhabitants are my children, not these are my special children, and then I'll graft you guys in as stepkids? No. Where's the one that doesn't understand, that teaches that there's no such thing as race, there's no such thing as ethnicity, there's no such thing as nations, that you're just here? Ethnicities, races, nations, those are man-made creations based on cultures and politics and money and power. But those things are created by us. We manifest that. And we took that manifestation, or they took that manifestation and made that as part of their God. Because the Canaanites who believed in El, the ones who believed in Yahweh before Yahweh became their God, thought that they were the special children of their God. The Babylonians, Baal or Marduk, that was their dude, and they were special to Baal and Marduk. To the Zoroastrians that we talked about last week, Ahura Mazda, the Persians, they were special to him. They were his chosen, which is why most of them don't let you in unless you're born into it. And even now, even though you got some that'll graft you in, you're still grafted in. I don't like this chicken story of the chicken and the egg. They always leave the rooster out like he owed child support. Dude, I never thought about that. Keith, I never thought about that. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? But what about the rooster? Well, actually, and I have to say this because my grandfather, we had chickens when I was growing up. A hen will still lay an egg whether the rooster is involved or not. The difference is the eggs that are laid without the rooster's involvement can never become a chick. It will never become a chick, and thereby becoming a chicken. So, and can I mess y'all up for a second? Therefore, when you eat eggs that have not been fertilized by a rooster, which is most of the eggs that you eat, you're eating a chicken's menstrual cycle. Unfertilized menstrual cycle. That's what you're eating. How y'all feel about that? How y'all know, you still gonna eat eggs since you're eating a hen's menstrual cycle? Their cycle just happens way more rapidly than humans. So you're eating a hen's menstrual cycle. Now, when you got one that got the little red blood in it and all that kind of stuff, that was a fertilized egg. So you're eating a hen's egg that got some sperm in it. Got some roosters. Oh shit! And yes, I will eat some eggs tomorrow. That's what I'm talking about, Sarah. Yummy. Oh man. But I mean, literally, that is true though. You can say yuck Debbie all you want to, but that's the truth. That's the truth, and the truth will set you free. Oh, blue smoke in my eye. You like that one, Cindy? Oh man. If I didn't want my kids eating something, I would give them some breakdown like that to tell them what it is. Like when I didn't want them eating a whole bunch of pork, I would, tell them, well, you are what you eat, and so is every animal is what they eat. Pigs will eat dead animals. They will eat poisonous animals. They will eat animals with diseases. So when you eat the pig, you're eating a diseased animal that they may have eaten. What you say that in my mouth? What? You must be using talking text, Dwayne. Oh man, I hope nobody's eating eggs right now. He was like, oh no. Megan, how long have you been in the truth? So I would say my journey started when I was 9. I didn't completely walk away until I was about 27. I was still hanging around, but that was only because my kids were, I was in the house with my children. So we were, they were learning about it, but I was there, but I wasn't, they knew that I wasn't part of their little tribe. So I would have to say I'm emotionally, mentally, spiritually walked away. I was about 27. And so I'm 52 now. So 25 years. And the thing about it is that I'm still learning. Like anything, most things are a lifelong journey. So this is still a lifelong journey for me. But yep. Because I still have a lot more to learn. And they are still uncovering more and more stuff. Really, you sound like my daughter when she was 9 years old when she said she knew the church was corny. Mm-hmm. That day that the pastor said that all rich people go to hell, that's when I had my Scooby-Doo moment. It's like, what? That's it. I hear you, Coach. I mean, I rarely eat eggs, but I gotta admit, an egg and salmon sandwich tastes pretty good. Hey, I can make a hell of a breakfast sandwich. That thing be so good, but it's good. Ego has led us all astray. The temple is meant for worship for all nations. Yahweh, one of the sons of El, and the word Elohim is plural, encompassing the all into one beginning monotheism in Judaism. Abraham was a Sumerian, and the Sumerians had Anunnaki gods who became one known as Marduk, and the Babylonian patriarch god. Melchizedek, a priest, king forever with no genealogy and no death, had the Holy Spirit within him, and is the one who anoints and blessed Abraham and King David venerated. Now, don't be sorry for the long comment, but I'm going to add some corrections to what you were saying. All right. And please go research it for yourself. So, yes, Yahweh is one of the sons of El. And the word Elohim is plural to mean gods and goddesses. But it doesn't encompass it all into one monotheism for Judaism, because they force it. Now they force the narrative to mean one, but this oneness didn't happen during the time of Abraham or Melchizedek. This oneness happened in 722 at the end of after the Bronze Age collapse, and it started with Hezekiah. Hezekiah was the first person of the Israelite to suggest that there is but one God, and that one God doesn't have a wife, and he separated Yahweh from Asherah. And then later on with Josiah, and then finalized with Ezra. So the other ones believed that their God had a wife, as well as they believed the other gods existed. So they weren't monotheistic, even because they believed other gods existed. They just particularly worshiped their God and his wife. So they still weren't monotheistic in their beliefs. Now, Abraham was Sumerian, and he worshiped El, and then later worshiped Yahweh. So he worshiped Enlil. But the Sumerians didn't, in the Sumerian pantheon, when they were Sumerians, Marduk wasn't their primary god. Anu was the primary god, right? Marduk was the grandson of Anu. And Anu had a wife, whether it was Titi or Namu, who created. And it depends on, you're talking about a 3,000-year history of storytelling. The Babylonian Marduk was the Babylonian patron god. Now Melchizedek, and I forgot what chapter verse we was doing, but it was with the whole Sodom thing. When you look at Melchizedek, Melchizedek does have a history. It is a misteaching. Melchizedek is the son of the king of Sodom. And Melchizedek, because Melchizedek received the 10th, and then Melchizedek received all of the spoils from Sodom when Abraham supposedly conquered, whooped their butt. So Melchizedek is the son of the king of Sodom, so he does have a genealogy. It's just the Bible doesn't specifically say what that genealogy is. But when you dive deep into it, he's the king of Sodom's son. And out of his daddy getting killed and them losing to Abraham, he paid homage to Abraham. Because for them, they believe if they lost the battle, not that their God is dead and they start worshiping the other God, they just believe that your God won that battle. But definitely go research that. But Christian doctrine is what really made Melchizedek into this being with no genealogy, because they wanted to connect Jesus to the Old Testament. I've been searching, Chris Cindy on Facebook, I've been searching for God since I was a little girl. Studied different religions. They told me that all religions lead to God. This is not true at all. No, all of them don't. I don't think most of them don't. Like 99% of these religions don't lead to a true God. They have certain elements, but that's about it. Son of Ea, Enki, who absorbed the 50 ranks of the gods, hence the 50 names of Marduk. Yeah. But they still didn't become one God. That's just absorbing the 50 titles. But they didn't literally absorb all the gods. As a matter of fact, in their stories, the other deity, the other Anunnakis were sent around to rule over different city-states, as far as how their story goes. Like Ishtar, Inanna goes into the Indus to become Ishtar. Enki goes into the Mesoamericas to become the feathered serpent. I'll mess up his name. That's why I always just call him the feathered serpent, but it's like Quetzalcoatl. don't know what to believe anymore. Start with yourself. Start with you. Start with you. And really, that's all you need to believe in is you. Because the more and more you understand you and start to understand the Hermetic laws, the more your consciousness will grow. And you'll realize you don't need to believe in God, because if any God needs your worship, that's not God. Because a true God of the universe wouldn't need anything. That would mean that it's lacking something. And it wouldn't require your worship and all these other things. The only blasphemy is you doing things outside of yourself that you know you hate. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, you're good. Do you believe the New Testament was plagiarized? Yeah. Not only plagiarized, but also created. And I believe JC's character was made up to oppress our people, to worship idolatry, worship thoughts. JC was made up, not just our people, people period. JC was created in order to create a docile version of Judaism so that they would stop disrupting the Roman Empire. So when Vespasian and the Flavians became emperor, their biggest issue as far as rebellion in the empire, inside the Roman Empire, was the Jewish rebellion of the coming Messiah, who was supposed to be a military person. The Jesus character is then created out of multiple people in order to create a docile version of Judaism so that the people will stop revolting against Rome. This is why the Old Testament is very pro-Roman. And I also believe that Yahweh and Black Jesus is all made up to idolatry. One God we have to serve is the Most High. But yeah, all those are idolatry, is creating some deity. And as far as the Most High is you. It's within you. It ain't outside of you. This is why they didn't like the Gospel of Thomas, because the majority of the sayings in the Gospel of Thomas indicate that the only place you're going to find God is inside yourself. And no priest or anybody can get you there, just you. But Gospel of Thomas have these aspects that are lacking as well, which is why one of the reasons we did a series on the Gospel of Thomas about a year ago now. Oh no, I appreciate your time, Eddie. Have you heard of Melchizedek and the Dead Sea Scrolls? It's a bit different from the canon today. I got to be honest, I haven't researched or studied the Dead Sea Scrolls since 1990, 96, 97. So I can't pull that information. Right. Why would you need to worship? You don't need to worship anything. Grand Rising Marvel. Oh, no, I'm saying Marvel. It's because I'm a Marvel fan. So Grand Rising Marvel. But yeah, if a deity told me I need to bow down to it, you ain't the creator. Because you need something. You need something. If you need something, you're just as weak as I am. Right? This is why the Buddhists try to teach that in order to ascend to a higher plane of consciousness, you have to get rid of desire. But yet they have the desire to get rid of desire. So basically they're saying that it's an impossibility as long as you're in this meat suit. Right? So to eliminate need, want, and desire is the goal, because that is something that is only fit for the creator. The creator cannot have a need, want, or desire. And that is our goal, to achieve that level of consciousness. Unfortunately, it's nigh impossible to achieve that in this gross matter plane. But the higher in consciousness we can get in that here, then when you leave this body, you don't come back to this body. You don't come back to this plane of existence. You go to another plane where the needs, wants, and desires that you have here are no longer needed there. But even at that plane, there still will be some type of need, want, or desire, and it will be your challenge at that point to rise above that one at that level. Oh, you just testing me, Megan? You testing me? Don't be testing me. No, I just playing. I was just playing. You should test everybody. That just reminds me of there's been people I've dated or people who have been friends or associates, and I tell them jokers right off the bat. Shit, I test you. I'm gonna test you. You know, you need to be tested. Hell, you should be testing me. Have you ever seen the movie Thor: Love and Thunder? Of course, it's a Marvel product. I told you I got like what 3,000 comic books downstairs. Yes, I've seen Marvel: Love and Thunder. Yes, I was cheering for the God Killer. I forgot his name, but I was cheering for him. That's right, kill all them little stuff. Zeus was funny though, but it wasn't that great of a movie. How do you know that? Because that's the only reason I say that I would know that is because of what I can see at this level, at this plane of existence. And with the law of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without, whatever is done on the lower planes is done on the higher planes, just done at a different plane of consciousness. Just like we do things here, like there's the mental mind of man A, B, C. So when you can elevate from C, which is the lowest vibration, and you can elevate to A and B, well, B and A, then if you can elevate in this mass, in this gross plane of existence, then with there being and since there are lower planes of lower mental planes, then reason would say that there is higher mental planes. So the mental plane A buttress against the spiritual plane C for the mental mind. So at some point, there is a bridge to cross into the next conscious level. Now, has anybody ever been to the spiritual plane and come back and have absolute proof of it? Hell no. So it is an educated guess based on what we experience at this plane of existence. And there will always be. There are scientists who are trying to figure out what the consciousness is. I'm gonna have to watch it again. The movie was better than I thought it was going to be. Actually, I had higher expectations, but I'm with you. The opening scene was pretty good. That movie had a lot of biblical symbolism between the God's relationship between humans and other life forms. It does have that. It does demonstrate how higher beings think about lower beings. And the only reason these higher beings were considered higher is because they had mastered different things that we haven't mastered. They had mastered how to live longer. They had mastered how to use universal energies to their levels. It's kind of like what Thor said in, I think, the first movie. In the first Thor movie, he said, magic is merely science that you don't understand yet. I thought that was one of the most brilliant lines that they wrote. Excuse me. So the only way you get to higher scientific or natural energy, what we call science is just really understanding natural energy. The only way you can get to higher consciousness of natural energy is through discovery, is through experimentation, is through thinking out, elevating your mind so that it's outside of what you perceive. And that's the only way we get there. So if we only can perceive and only accept things for how we can see things, then we can never elevate our consciousness. There has to be theory, but those theories have to be backed by something that we can see here in this level of consciousness. in order to theorize about another level of consciousness. But there has to be enough supportive evidence for that one, for that next level. Grand Rising Anthony, I believe in self. What the universe shows me and anything that is fact-based with proof of its existence. What I don't know, I don't put faith or belief in its place. Right. And that's why I try not to use the word belief. Damn sure ain't using the word faith. But that's why I'd like to say educated guess, but a better word would be a hypothesis. Do you know anyone who has gotten to that level? I mean, they're not alive anymore. They're not alive here anymore. But yeah. And they were able to perceive things and do things that I thought were like nigh impossible. So basically your beliefs are based on your feelings? No. That's one of the things that I learned from some of those people who I've seen reaching a higher consciousness. That basically the idea, to put it in American slang, fuck your feelings. Is like your feelings have nothing to do with it. Actually, that's one of the things you have to learn to control, is to control your feelings. Now, sometimes those people seem emotionless, as if they don't care. But to be able to control your feelings is one of the processes that you have to be able to go through in order to reach a higher conscious state, because your feelings will mess you up. Is that the real one? Yeah, it's more real, except Greenland is too damn big. Greenland is way too big. Australia is not big enough, because Australia and America are more similar in size. But for the most part, so if you don't mind me asking, how were you created? My mom and daddy had sex. Mom and daddy had sex. And it goes further and further and further and further back. But then it gets to a point where I say, I don't know. But my mom and daddy had sex. Now, how my consciousness was created, don't know. At some point, it was in whether it came into being or was always there. But at some point, but that's the I don't know part. And nobody knows. If anybody can say that I know how I was created, just show me a liar. Right? You can't speak negativity into the universe. That is true. That is true. What you speak into the universe, what you feel into the universe, what you think into the universe is generally what's going to be. And whichever one has the highest frequency is what you're going to get. Like you can have competing thoughts, competing emotions, competing words. But whichever one is pushed with the most energy is the one that's going to become your reality. What did they do to get to that level? A whole lot of studying of everything and universal forces, a whole lot of observation of nature, deep diving into themselves, which most of that, the people that I know who did it that way. It was through meditations. But then at some certain point, even the meditation is not a big deal. It's like it becomes a constant thing that you're always doing. Like I don't have to sit and meditate all the time in order to, I don't have to sit and set up everything in order to meditate. I can be having this conversation right now, but still be in deep meditation. Oftentimes I am in deep meditation while we're having these conversations. Do you believe in a creator? To use the word correctly, I hypothesize that there is an intelligent mind at work. Is it facts? Hell no. Can't prove it. Not at this level. Can't be proven. What's everything? Energy and frequency. Everything is energy and frequency. And it's kind of like how the periodic table is. We've discovered what we would consider a lot of elements, but there are more than likely trillions of other elements that we have no idea exist and how they function or any of those things. But at some points we will find out new ones. Kind of like, remember in the Iron Man movie when he created a new element, supposedly created a new element? No, he just figured out an element that was already in existence, just figured out how to do it. But there is more to learn and more out there than we will ever know. Because if we are created, we can never know all that the creator knows. If the universe is just functioning, because we are inside the universe, we can never be outside the universe because we were created inside the universe, right? We can never be outside of what made us. Well, to our understanding, we can never be outside of what created us. So I don't think we'll ever actually know. Because, like I said, it's a hypothesis. And there's evidence of an intelligent mind and how everything is intelligently designed. But is it a mind? Or is it all just processes of nature that happen to be? That's why I say it's a hypothesis. See, that's the thing, Marcus. And I don't know if you're one of those kind of people or not. You sound like you might be. Nothing is acceptable unless there is facts. But the problem with that is that it keeps you in a box. You may be considered to be outside of the box of most people or a lot of people, but you're still in a box. You're in a box of the gross matter that we exist in, that we are existing in now. You have to open your mind to be able to say, there is something outside the box that I don't know, but I know there's something. Just like I was saying, there are elements outside of the elements that we know of. I know there's something. Mathematically, there has to be life similar to our own on other planets. We don't know it, but mathematically, it's a higher probability of that being true than not being true. Do you follow any laws that govern your life? Yeah. Treat other people how I want to be treated. And don't bring harm to anybody from my own actions that prevents them from living as happy of a life as they possibly desire. So, that's basically it. Everything for me, everything as far as living life is measured on that scale. There's a lot of things that I may want to do, but I don't do because I wouldn't want anybody doing that to me. Like I was driving my mom today, right? And I got ready to get over into the turning lane. Well, this other car waits to the last freaking second and just jumps over in front of me, no blinkers, no nothing. I don't do that. I try not to do that because I don't like when that's done to me. Right? Because he put me in a dangerous situation. I don't want to put somebody else in a dangerous situation. Oh shit, it's two Marcuses on here. I was talking to Marcus Moore on Facebook for that one, Marcus Bennett. Why do I have a channel with multiple people with the same goddamn on first name? I'm sure other people do too. But Marcus Moore. So now we got Marcus B and Marcus M. One's on Facebook, one's on YouTube. Is that idea, that thought in the Bible? Yes, it is in the Bible. Does the Bible adhere to it? Hell no, it does not. You know, the Bible says, love your neighbor as you would love yourself. Second greatest commandment. The Bible says, love your wife as you would love yourself. Right? Never tells the wife to love herself as much as she love your husband as much as you love yourself. Just tell you the wife, be obedient to your husband. It's kind of fucked up. It ain't kind of, it is. But it tells you to love yourself as you love your neighbor, but yet tells you that you can make your neighbor into slaves. How are you loving your neighbor as you love yourself if you can make your neighbor into slaves? Oh, I'm telling you now. If I can, would you ever want to be a slave, Marcus? I'm going to assume that your answer is going to be no. You don't want to be a slave. But the Bible tells you to make your neighbors into slaves. How is that loving yourself as you would love your neighbors? Would you ever want to be genocided? No. So why would the Bible tell people to genocide other people? Would you want to ever be told to keep silent in churches? No. So why are you telling women to keep silent in churches? So how can you love yourself and love your neighbor the same way as you love yourself if you give yourself privileges that you don't want your neighbor to have over you? That's a contradiction in the philosophy. What did the ancient Hebrew language say? Not the English tradition. First, the New Testament, where it says to love yourself as you love your neighbor, is not written in Hebrew at all. It's written in Greek. Okay, so that's the first thing. So that statement doesn't fit because it's written in Greek, right? How the Greek translate into English is the exact same thing of love your neighbor as you love yourself. What the Greek translation translate into slavery is the same thing. Now, in the ancient Hebrew, where you're looking at Exodus 21 and Leviticus 25, in that Hebrew language, it says, it translates into English, you can make slaves of the foreigners around you for life and pass them down to your sons. Those translations are the same. People will try to say, well, the Hebrew didn't say it that way, but yes, it did. It most certainly did. You know, as far as slavery is concerned, as far as the treatment of women are concerned, it says the same thing. There are no differences in those translations. Right? We can't scream translation when it doesn't fit our narrative, especially when we know that the translation is the same. You know, are there translation mistakes? Sure. When the Hebrew said a young woman will give birth to a son, it meant just a young woman. It didn't mean she was married, unmarried, and hadn't had sex. It didn't mean she was a virgin. But the Greeks translated that into virgin. So you do have mistranslations in that one. But when it comes to the translation of slavery, mistreatment of women, in the examples I gave, there is no mistranslation. That's just what it says. Because you got to think about the culture of the people who were writing it. And their culture, that was a normal way of life and how things should be. So they wrote it how their culture specified. That's why these books are culturally. There's a overlay of culture in these books. Now, some of your mistranslations, yeah, you can identify those. Like what? John 1, John 1 1, 1 John 1 1. The Greek says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was a God, and that God was towards the God. The English translated that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. That's a mistranslation. But people don't like those mistranslations because we bought into, I ain't gonna say we, people have bought into this idea of a Trinity. So those mistranslations we ignore. People want to ignore those, but it's a mistranslation. But as far as the rule of my life, that's what it says. And it's hypocritical. Don't take my word for it. Go research it. Research the translation of to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And then research the translations of when it talks about slavery. When it says that slaves be good to your masters, whether they are good or cruel, right? Whether they are good or cruel, that's not a mistranslation. It says whether they are, it says slaves, obey your masters, whether they are good or cruel. That's the translation. When the Bible says, now the King James changed it, but the Geneva Bible still has it. When it says that, you know, how it talks about, you know, you fight against powers and principalities. The Geneva Bible also specifies kings and rulers. You are kings, kingdoms, and rulers. You fight against those too, which is a contradiction to Romans when it says that God has appointed every king and ruler over you. You must be a Hebrew Israelite, because y'all will throw that. Do you understand ancient Hebrew? Don't have to. I understand some of it, but I don't have to understand ancient Hebrew in its totality. Hell, most people who claim that they don't. Do you have to understand Spanish to translate Spanish? Do you have to understand French to translate French? Or are there translations out there and people who have studied this and they know it backwards and forward and they understand it? But more importantly, I understand history and I understand archaeology. I don't study the original Hebrew because there is no need for me to study the original Hebrew. Let me give you an example of why. This has happened to me a few times in my life. Since I was just hanging out with my friend Troy, we were reminiscing about when we were in college together. And one of the things was I passed the Microsoft DBA program. After the class, when Jack was like, man, how did you figured out how to program that? So in DBA, there's a language that you have to learn in order to program the database. I hate programming, don't like programming. So what I did was go out to a forum, told the people what I was trying to do with this database. They sent me like 20, 30 pages of code. I implemented that code into the database. For the most part, it worked, but I saw that there were a few issues. It didn't give me the result that I was supposed to get. So I went back to them and said, well, and I explained, well, it gave me this, but it messed up on this, and this. A couple of days later, I get about 5, 6 pages of code, and they told me where to implement that code. I implemented that code, and the database worked perfectly fine. I passed the class. I got an A. Right? I didn't need to know that language. I just need to understand what I was trying to accomplish, and I still accomplished the task. And to this day, I still don't know that language. I don't want to know that language. So I don't have to know ancient Hebrew, right? It's like Sergeant Major Marcus had told me one time. It is not about knowing all the information, but it's about knowing where to get the information. So I don't need to know ancient Hebrew. I just need to know where to get the information for ancient Hebrew. And that's what I do. And I source it from multiple sources. See, the problem with most people, they find the source that fits their narrative, and then that becomes the only source that they listen to. Whereas for me, I'm going to listen to this source, this source, this source, this source, this source. And we're going to measure all the different sources to see what's most likely. And then when it comes to language, give me the basic. If I have a basic of understanding, like when the whole theos and ton theos, if the definite article in Hebrew, whether it's Aramaic or ancient Hebrew, if certain definite articles are there or not there, then it gives a different meaning. So like in John 1, if it doesn't, that's actually Greek. In John 1, but that works the same. If the definite article ton is not there before theos, ton makes it mean the God. If it's no definite article there, then in English it would translate to a God. So there is a difference if the definite article is not there. Just like when you talk about Deuteronomy in Hebrew, if there is a definite article before Mizrahim, then it means the land of Egypt. If there's no definite article, then it means the people or idea of Egypt. So where there is the definite article, that makes it different than when there's not a definite article. So when you understand things like that, then you know whose translation is more correct than the other. Why speak on things you're ignorant of? Study to show yourself approved. Understand scripture. You have understand the culture to understand scripture. You have to, but y'all, I'm assuming you're, Hebrew Israelite. Y'all don't understand the culture, but yet try to act like you understand what you're reading, but you don't understand the culture. You're manifesting your own culture based on race for the most part. The New Testament is written in Greek. That's why. Your New Testament is not written in Hebrew. It's written in Greek. And I speak English. So that's why. And in Hebrew, y'all don't even understand the fullness of Hebrew. Y'all run with the Satan, meaning the adversary, when the actual word Satan is a Sumerian word that means administrator, but then was converted mistakenly into the Akkadian, which is a Sumerian language that then means an opposer. So you're not even breaking down the word correctly for yourself. If you want to, honestly, if you want to understand the language, then understand where that language developed from in order to truly understand that language, and then understand the culture, and you'll see how it changes, because language is constantly changing. What you're reading in Hebrew today didn't mean the same thing to those people back then. So if you're not coming at it with that perspective, you don't even understand what the hell you're reading. And yes, and here's the difference. You said, why speak of things you're ignorant of? That's the precept that you're putting in place that doesn't fit. I am very well knowledgeable about the culture and the people and how they change the language and change the meaning of things. Like y'all think Babylon means confusion. To Babel means confusion. But to the Babylonian people, Babel meant gateway. So Babylon means gateway of the gods. But then the Hebrew people, because they have a similar word in that says Babel, changed that to mean confusion. But it doesn't mean that. It never meant that. So in the Babylonian story of the Tower of Babel, or the Ziggurat of Babel, They were talking about the tower that they built to Marduk. That was his communications. That's where he communicated. That's where he reigned over Babylon. And it's the gateway of the gods. But the Hebrew changed it. Without that understanding, you're reading the story wrong. Without that understanding, you can't recognize that they just created a propaganda story in order to explain where the different languages come from. And you can see the fallacy in the story. What he brewing? Corey, he brewed some coffee. They found Hebrew manuscripts of the book of Matthew. I haven't seen that. I wouldn't doubt it. Yes, I would. I would. Hebrew, I would say they may have found some Aramaic, not actual ancient Hebrew. I would say if they found anything of Mark that was written that's not in Greek, it would be Aramaic writing. It would also be late 1st century, early 2nd century, which early 1st century, late 1st century, early 2nd century would not be the same. The language would not be the same as 6th century BCE. American English has only been around for a few hundred years, and yet if you were to go back to the 1700s, y'all would have language breakdowns. Hell, I don't even know how old you are, but if you go back the way we speak today, if you go back to the 80s, there's going to be some language breakdowns. And that's only what, 40 years, a generation. Hold on, Corey. We jumping on my Masons now. Don't fall into the all Masons are evil stuff. How do I know what you know? The same way you know what I know. Based on your statements, I can make a hypothesis, but you are making a hypothesis based on my statements. You have actually no idea what I know. I would say that what I put out on these videos is probably about 40% of what I actually know. About 40%. Yeah, it is about 40% of what I actually know. Because not only from the Bible, you read the Tao, the Vedics, all those books before, the Sumerian tablets, the Babylonian tablets, the Kemetic scrolls and tablets, all of them have a similar saying of milk for babes, meat for strong men. But in the alchemical hermetic philosophy, there is the idea of the lips are closed except to the ears of understanding. There are certain people, and I don't know everybody on here, so I don't know everybody's mentality and mindset. So certain things, as it says that Thoth said, he pursed his lip when certain questions were asked, whether he did not know, or did he purse his lips because he did not know, or did he purse his lip because of the idea of the lips are sealed except for those with understanding. So certain things I won't talk about simply because you don't put everything out for everyone, because I don't know. There may be some people on here who can handle another 20%, 30%, 40%, 50, even 60% of what I know. But I don't know that. And until I do, it remains here. I do that with everybody, with my children, with everything. There are certain, great example. Unlike a lot of parents, I talk to my kids about sex from a very early age, but the conversations were based on what I knew they could handle. I ask you a question, you assume I'm versed in various faiths and the origins of their beliefs. I don't know what you're versed in. I just explain to what I'm willing to explain based on what you say. I don't know what you're versed in. I don't know. Like I said, I make the assumption based on what you're talking about that you are a Hebrew Israelite. You may not be. You very well could not be. But it's based on your statements. You may not be. I don't know. Therefore, you ask questions. I ask questions. But I am very well versed on many faiths because I spent a lifetime studying a whole bunch of them, especially the ancient ones. How do you feel about Billy Carson? He's all right. A little too heavy on the Anunnaki thing for me, but seems all right. I recognize that, and not that I'm devoid of that myself, but I recognize that what he does is also part of his business. So, so some things are going to be pushed more so than other things because pushing the Anunnaki is good for business for him. His belief in it, don't know. From watching him, it seems it's good for business for him to present more and more Anunnaki information because that's where the tribe that he's vibing with or that's vibing with him are coming in. So I don't fault him for it. You know, anybody who does what I'm doing and what he's doing, there has to be a business side of it. Otherwise, you can't give this much time to it. You can't give this much time to it. He's not lying. He's pretty well versed. And like even at that part right there, Dwayne knows what I'm talking about because Dwayne Howard, he's on Facebook. He and I sat and talked for a number of hours over the weekend. I talked to him about things over the weekend that I would not talk about on here because I had an opportunity to get to know him a little bit. So I felt freer to talk about certain things. I said, you must be here. I say but I left a door open that you may not be. Because I said, you must, I did say you must be, but I don't know. You might not. I don't know. So you didn't hear that part. You could be just versed in the Bible, but I don't know. You've never made a statement of claim if you're a Hebrew Israelite or not. When I offered the information of you might be or must be based on what I'm hearing from you. You never said you're not. You never said that you are. Unless you declare yourself, then I made a hypothesis. I didn't assume nothing. But there was something about Dwayne that I was going to say. Oh, because I was talking about if you spend time doing this and give a bunch of time, then there has to be a business end of it. So one of the things that me and Dwayne talked about over the weekend, the fact that where he's talented at, he could do it as a giving thing, but make a business out of it so that you have more time to give it. Do you think that some of our inventions that we have and that people have made, that they are spiritual communications or got the information through channeling in order to do it? Some of them, and merely based on their claims. Like Einstein admitted that he that it was through some channeling or visions that he came up with some of his theories. Other inventors have said the same thing. What's my man name? What's that man name? Tesla. He claimed that some of his understanding has come through his study and applications and visions of the number 369, the sequence of the number 369 in the Fibonacci spiral. So, yeah. In order to invent some shit that's outside of the box, you got to go deep into your mind. For the most part, there are some inventions that you can just look at some stuff and be like, oh, you know what, I can improve on that. But there are other things that you got to go outside of the conventional wisdom in order to get there. Okay. I see my phone. Thank you for letting me know. Because I'm like, who the hell is coming to my house? Because Marcus B said, because Jordan Maxwell said that Nikola Tesla, before he went to bed, had left out a notepad and he was inspired by someone to write down the ideas he found for his inventions through channeling. Yeah. Him, who has it? John Dees. There are plenty of people who we still have their information, their documentation that they admit to channeling or things of that nature. One of my favorite authors, that the book Outwitting the Devil, he claims that he wrote that and many other books through channeling. Maya Angelou claims the same for her poetry. W.B. Du Bois claims the same. Some of them use products like shrooms. A lot of them use things like shrooms to do that. What's his name? Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. He eagerly admits that he uses shrooms to open his mind up to get deeper into his scientific theories. Hell, I told y'all in this last year, I've used shrooms to further open my consciousness. It's all about how you use. I don't use any of those. I don't use them for recreation. I used to annually around my birthday, when I was going through deep meditations about my year, my life, that was the only time I would use marijuana. Now, disclaimer, I am not promoting the usage of any of those things that are considered illegal if you're in a state where they are illegal. I am not promoting them. Right now, more cigars. I'm going to get a couple this weekend. I got him, y'all. I got him. I got Dwayne. He smoked that sweet shit. That Tabak Dolce. If you want to get the same one that I had you get, it's the Tabak T-A-K-A. Wait, how you spell it, Tabak? T-A-B-A-C? No, that's Tabak. That's a different company. I think it's T-A. Why is my brain, I can't spell this? Because I don't smoke that sweet shit. That's why. But it was a Dolce. Tabak Dolce is what I had gave you. Well, what I suggested that you get. Because I ain't buy you shit. Yes, T-A-B-A-K. And it was the Dolce that you had, if you're looking for that same one. I got it. Converted him. I'm converting him. Converting Dwayne into a cigar smoker. Actually, these were a part of that because cigars, I've been smoking cigars since I was 23. And I found them to have this calming effect that allows you to contemplate deeper. And it made I was new into meditating back then, and it allowed for my meditations to go deeper. Mark said, interesting. I guess you're talking about the shrooms and stuff. So Dwayne Howard, he said on Facebook, I also ordered the Kybalion. That's spelled with a K though, actually. The Kybalion, so that I won't be on that shit, on that bullshit. That is because I am very harsh towards men. When he was telling me over the weekend, and I told him I'm gonna talk about his ass. When he was telling me over the weekend, oh, I just haven't had time. I just haven't had time. I told him he was on that bullshit. You got time. If it's something important to you, you make the freaking time to do it. Plain and simple. There is no such thing as I ain't had time. I ain't got time. You got time to go buy them damn Adidas shoes, the Adidas jumpsuit. You got time for all that. So you got time to go get the goddamn book and read it. So all y'all, you got time. Especially if you're a dude. I don't hear no bullshit about I ain't got no time. I don't have time. You got time. You got time for whatever you deem is important. That's what you got time for. Now, ladies, I'll be like, well, you just gotta make some time. Get a journal, schedule your time, use Daywheel so you can see where your time is being manipulated at, and then you can change your times up. Y'all get a little softer approach. But for all you guys, y'all on that bullshit. It's just like if Marcus was saying, I ain't got time to learn ancient Hebrew. You on that bullshit, Marcus L. You got time to go learn it. That's how I am about that kind of stuff. That's why I was also telling Dwayne, some of y'all would not like me if you met me in person. Because I will call you out on your bullshit. And I fully expect to be called out on my bullshit. Trust me. Angelina does a good job calling me out on my bullshit. But yeah, we are about to close this out. I've just been alerted that I'm going to have a visitor here in a few minutes. I don't know. I was hoping she would show up quicker. Marcus, if I study everything that everybody suggested that I study, then I would never study anything, because I literally don't have time to study everything. You got to imagine, for me, I get a lot of recommendations, and I don't have enough time. I would not dedicate time to every recommendation that comes my way. I'd be reading about 30 goddamn books right now if that was the case. But to study to show yourself approved, I am very much approved because I know how to study. Good example. If you watch that movie Oppenheimer, he makes a statement in that movie where basically in the movie, he gives the sense that, because I can't remember exactly what it was right now, but basically he knew that he had to go get the right people who knew more about a subject than he knew in order to get to the desired results of where he wanted to go. That's how you study, right? So I don't need to go learn ancient Hebrew. I have no desire to go learn ancient Hebrew. I know where to go get whatever translations I want, just that I need. Just like, I was that guy who spent the time, because I thought like you're saying right now, I thought that I needed to go learn ancient cuneiform. So I began the process of learning ancient cuneiform, to learning the Meta Netures, and I learned quite a bit of it. But then I realized that I was spending so much time learning that I was neglecting the other areas of study that I wanted to study. So let me go find the information. And that was right around the time frame that Sergeant Major Marcus had said that to me, that learn where to go get your information and you'll be all right. You're absolutely right. I agree with you 100%. Marcus said you study what's important to you. Your actions show where you want to be. And that's where I am. I study their hermetics and alchemy more than I study anything else. Second, that, but it's like a three-way tie. Alchemy and the hermetics, sex and relationships, and just all around consciousness. You see, I've studied all these ancient cultures and ancient religions long enough and well enough to know that they are, for the most part, culturally biased in almost every way. So there is no need for me to become an expert in any of these cultures. I just need to know enough to know what I know and then where to go get information if I need more information. And the beauty of archaeology, and that will be the other one, is archaeology. I will study archaeology. There's enough people out there, and we got the internet. See, when I was doing what Marcus was suggesting, that's before the internet. You know, before the internet, I was sending requests to different colleges and universities and different archaeologists and hoping that they would return information. Some archaeologists do, some don't. The universities were pretty good at returning information, or like sending, like if you requested, like let's say you sent a letter, you found out that this professor is at some college, like University of Cairo, and you wanted to get his PhD paper on Asar, then you could send a request. Back then, you could send a request to that college to get a copy of his, what is the word? Not his dossier. I mean, I would request their dossier as well, because you got to know about that author in order to understand what you're reading. But their whatever the PhD paper is called, I forgot. And you would send it, and then about 3-4 months later, you might get it. But now, shit, you can just go find that information. If you know where to look, you can go get the most recent PhD papers on whatever culture, society thing that you want. But most translations are not accurate to Hebrew culture and the intentions of the original writers. So if you want to understand faith, go back to its source. I wouldn't agree with that, with the term that you said, most. This is why you got to know the authors of who you're reading. What are their political leanings? What are their moral leanings? What are their cultural leanings? Are you reading an author who has a cultural leaning towards modern day Israelis? Or is it an author who has leanings towards the Black Hebrew Israelites, or the Palestinian, or the, what group do they have more leanings to? What are their political thoughts on things? When you understand those, then you can see if there is a bias, you might be able to see that bias. So I need to know who I'm reading to say that they're not accurate to ancient Hebrew culture. If that person is not, you give me a translation from a person who hasn't studied or know the archaeology, the most recent archaeology, or for whenever they wrote it. If you're looking at it in the 90s, then you have to look at what archaeology was available to them at that time frame. But if they don't know what was going on in archaeology at that time frame, then yeah, the translations may be off. Because there is the Black Hebrew, because there are many authors who translate the Hebrew to lean towards the Black Hebrewites in America, just like there are ones who lean towards the Caucasian Israelites, Israelis who are now running Israel. There are those who lean towards the Palestinian Hebrews. So people have sectioned themselves off into groups based on nationalities or personal family histories, or those who look like them, and they write their stories in accordance with that. The same way with every religion. Every religion has written it in according to their political leanings. So you have to, if you don't recognize that, then you still don't know what you're reading. Hold on for a minute. All right. I'm not back. I have an intruder outside my house. Who's come to pick something up that I don't know where it's at. So I don't know. But yeah, so you have to. And I don't go with the all or this, all or that, and there's big conspiracy here, conspiracy there. If the archaeological background is not there, then I'm not accepting it. I need the archaeological background. Otherwise, you're just talking because a person is just talking or writing something based on their feelings. And as I said earlier, you know, I don't care about feelings. Recliner in the garage. Don't be telling me reading is fundamental. Oh, reading is fundamental. And hold on, this person is sitting out in their car like I'm supposed to just bring them stuff. I didn't even know I had this garage door up. All right. Yep. Sorry. Getting interrupted. It's funny how people show up and they ain't want to come to the door. You're going to get out of their car. But yeah, so hopefully that helps people to be more concise in their studying, because I learned a long time ago just taking information from. That's why I always encourage you guys, no matter what I say, go research it for yourself. You know, if you find my information to be incorrect, then that's fine. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know where you got it from. Why your thought process is different. Because I can always learn more. You know, but hopefully you guys will dig deeper into your studies for whatever, as Marcus said, whatever is most important to you. Go into it without a predetermined landing spot, until you find one. And even when you find information that's converse to what you're talking about, still don't have a predetermined landing spot, if at all possible. Try to see it with virgin eyes again. If it still relates back to the same thing, then you are just solidifying your thought process on something. I hear, and at the same time, I'm not giving glory, honor, or praise to something that thinks it deserves it, when I had to put my own hand to the plow to do the work anyway, to get the results. And the results are only the outcome of the work I did. I solved, it moved. I hate when it moved, I always lose my place. To solve the issue or the problem. Yeah. I will never, ever say, oh, this happened because this deity or whatever, or what happened was supposed to happen. No, there's a cause and effect to everything that ever happens, right? You may not always know the causation, but there is a causation. So then my thing is, I want to find out what the causation is, because if it impacted me negatively, then I need to go and figure out how to be a greater causal factor than whatever caused this situation to be, so that I am not the effects of somebody else's call, because my will has to be the strongest will in my life that creates the majority of my results. Now, of course, when you're working with other people, you have the 2 wheels, 3 wheels, 4 wheels that are working, and hopefully you can get those wheels in alignment with each other. But I have to go and run a very important errand, and if I don't get my butt up out of here in the next like 5 to 10 minutes, I am going to be late. And one thing I cannot stand is to have people waiting on me. I don't like to wait for other people, but it is worse. I feel worse when people have to wait on me. So we're not going to do that. I don't like people waiting on me. And that's another thing. I don't like people waiting on me. I don't like to wait for other people. So therefore, I try not to make anybody wait on me. If I say I'm going to be somewhere at a certain time, that's why I try to do it. Like, I am the person who will literally tell you, oh, I'm 7 minutes away, when everybody else will say, oh, I'm 10 minutes away, or I'm 5 minutes away. No, I'm exactly 7 minutes away. That's how far away I am. So y'all have a wonderful day. Oh, and tomorrow we doing regular time. 10:30, between 10:30 and 11, we'll get started. That nighttime bullshit that we did last night, I don't like it at all. It took away time from me and Angelina. So we had like this short little time together when she got home, and then I did the live, and then we had this short little time in the evening. No, hell no. No. I told you my tie for first place favorite thing is the relationship. So no. We're not doing night times. I know I said we'll do it for a month, 2 days out the week. Nope. So I will see y'all tomorrow between 10:30 and 11. And we will continue from our regularly scheduled program. So y'all have a great day. I appreciate everybody. Marcus, which Marcus was it? Marcus M, I think. Marcus M, I appreciate your comments and everything. Gave us more information and things to talk about. So I do appreciate it. So don't think that I'm not appreciative of your thought processes. I do appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody's comments, whether for or against, because that is how we all grow and get better. So y'all have a great day. I'm going to enjoy and go to the gym, because I got to get rid of this. The fat back got to go. So always remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. Don't be trying to send me stuff, Anthony, when I'm doing my closeout. Yes, Ramsey, you late as shit. And Ramsey, you got to let me know. You can't let me know the day before when to come see the baby. You got to let me know, like, I need days ahead of time. Oh yeah, I'm agreeing with what Anthony's saying. That's why I got to know the person that I'm reading before I accept what they do, what they say. So anyway, I'm out. Bye.